Hello, everyone. I see you all are trying to connect for this evening's SPF Talks. We are so glad you're able to join us. Please feel free to share your camera and share your audio and speak to us. Make sure that you guys are all on. And when our speaker begins, we would like for you to mute. Unfortunately, we got a little technical difficulty going on, and while we can hear our speaker, we're not going to be able to see her. So we will make do. We like technical problems because that's just what we've got to do, right? We just have to deal with it and move on. But we have got a wonderful speaker this evening. Thank you all for joining us. I think there was more than 110 people that actually signed up for the talk tonight. I thank you all very much for supporting the Spastic Paraplegia Foundation and our work and effort to try to find a cure for HSP and PLS. So I wanted to tell you guys, as kind of our normal housekeeping, keep your phone, your cameras and your videos, everything running if you would like to, but keep your audio mute. If there is noise in the background, then we will mute you. We are very sorry about that. But we do have the presentation is going to be taped. But when we hold for questions at the end, and feel free to chat those questions if you guys would like to over in our chat box. But once it's time for questions and you would like to come on and ask a question, we recognize that, this subject matter is sensitive, and we are not going to be taping that part of the program. So feel comfortable in that being the case. And if you would prefer to send us questions over in the chat box instead of presenting those yourself, please do so, and we will make sure that we try to catch those, and we will ask those ourselves of our speaker. We have a wonderful speaker this evening. I'm so thankful that Mary Schultz helped us to locate Miss Angela. Miss Angela has over 30 years of working with women's health, and has also evolved into a passion of working with, everyone's health, especially related to the pelvic health of ourselves. So she is on, as some of you guys were loading on. Her camera is not working for a video, but she is joining us here by audio. And again, we will have this information that she is sharing with us on our YouTube channel. And then there were earlier pages that you guys were emailed. There's some additional pages, PDFs that we have put on to our website. If you'll go back to where you registered with the SPF Talks, then you will be able to find all of this information online, as well as the video, the YouTube video that we shared with you guys originally. And I hope that you had a chance to look at that. So please hold off to the very end, and we're going to tell you guys about some new things that is coming up on our calendar of events. But without further delay, it's already 5 after 6. I think everybody is on that should be on. And Miss Angela Girardier is joining us, and I would like to just open the door up for her. So please go ahead, Miss Angela. Tell us about yourself, where you're from, and what you're doing.
Hi. Okay. My name's Angela. I'm a physical therapist. I've been a physical therapist for 30 years. I have done pelvic health for almost my whole career. And Mary, like she said, Mary reached out and found me. I was working, and we had a little interaction. And so I told her, hey, if you've ever got a chance for me to speak for you, just holler at me. And she did. I now am living in St. Charles, Missouri. I work for Springer Physical Therapy, and we have 3 clinics. I am at our Chesterfield clinic, and we have 2 others out in O'Fallon, Missouri, and in Creve Coeur, Missouri. We're small. female owned, operated, kind of like grassroots physical therapy company. And we just really want to kind of elevate physical therapy and make our care exceptional. So I'm really happy where I'm at. And I guess what you guys want to know more about is urinary incontinence, because that's what your talk's about. So I'm going to talk to you guys like I talk to my patients, because I think that's probably the best education I can give you. I will say that I don't ever do cookie cutters with any of my patients. I believe that everybody needs a little bit of something different. So although what I'm going to talk to you about today can be very helpful for you, it is not, it's not enough. If you really are having problems, I encourage you to seek out a pelvic health therapist and get some help. I would love Mary to chime in at some point and talk about what her experience was like. Maybe when I'm done speaking, if we can grab Mary and have her talk, that'd be great.
Here,
You're here.
Yes,
believe,
we
but
can do that for sure.
Awesome. So I would encourage you though to find a therapist to talk to and learn exactly what you need, because your case is not going to be the same as my case would be or Mary's was. And so to get the best help for you, you do need to be seen. Where I have done most of my training is through a company called Herman and Wallace. They have a therapist locator, and Norma, I'll get you that link, but it's pelvicrehab.com. If you get on there and put your zip code in, it will locate a physical therapist that has gone to Herman and Wallace training, and it would help you find a therapist close to you, because I'm guessing not all of you live near St. Louis, Missouri. All
No,
around.
they don't. These our guests, our participants are actually all over the world.
Wonderful. And
Yeah.
that there are therapists that are taking the Herman and Wallace courses outside of the United States as well. So I am pretty sure that that locator works for them as well. So basically, there are two different kinds of urinary incontinence. We have stress incontinence and we have urge incontinence. You can have both. And that's called mixed incontinence. The stress incontinence is when you laugh or cough or sneeze or bend over and pick something up and you leak urine. And that's from increased pressure in the abdomen. And the increased pressure pushes down on the bladder and urine comes out because the pelvic floor muscles aren't strong enough. And then the urge incontinence it can happen for a number of reasons. Urgency can happen because the pelvic floor muscles are too tight and they're kind of making everything uncomfortable, and it makes you feel like you need to use the bathroom. And so you run in there very frequently. Actual incontinence occurs when the bladder is feeling that urge feeling and you're rushing to the bathroom, and because of that urge you leak. So it's more of a bladder spasm that is stronger than the pelvic floor muscles are. So we do a little bit of different things depending on what we find. If you come to me and you have stress incontinence, we are going to do a lot of strengthening. So if there is weakness in the pelvic floor muscles, we usually find that there's weakness in the deep core muscles as well. So strengthening the hips the best we can, postural muscles, the abdomen, the low back. And then I see people asking, yes, my camera is not working. I am on a computer from my office, and I am, for whatever reason, it will not let my screen come through. So I apologize for that. back to strengthening those. So strengthening posture muscles, strengthening the hips, and then strengthening the pelvic floor helps to close the sphincters that the urine can get out if you're leaking. It helps to prevent that from happening. So that one is usually a fairly easy fix. Urgency is a whole nother animal. When you have the urgency, we really need to figure out why that is. So urgency can come from tight muscles in the pelvic floor. It can come from an irritated bladder. It can also come from a neurogenic bladder. So neurogenic bladder is when the nerves are giving messages to the bladder that tell it to contract, and that causes urgency, and it also can cause leakage. So in that case, those people, I'm going to be teaching them how to use their pelvic floor muscles to talk to their bladder. And I'll go into that a little bit after I talk about these different kinds. So all of them involve learning how to talk to your bladder and your brain to kind of calm things down and repattern the bladder. Urgency that comes from tight pelvic floor muscles, we do internal treatment of the musculature and help to relax any tension that's in the pelvic floor muscles. And that usually helps with that type of urgency. If it is a bladder irritant kind of urgency, then we talk about making sure we're drinking enough water and we're not drinking things that are going to irritate the bladder wall, like caffeine and citrus and carbonation. Those are the three big ones. And so you can end up with a bit of a diet prescription, an exercise prescription. For relaxation of those muscles, we often talk about a lot of breathing exercises. And so you can kind of see it wherever you fall in that mix, you may end up with some pretty interesting exercises, and everybody's going to be a little bit different. I really wish I could draw this picture for you guys, but maybe I think I have it written down and I can have it sent to you so that I have a picture that I love to draw for my patients, and I have it written out on a piece of paper. I can send that to you so that it can be uploaded by everyone and seen at some point. But basically, we have our brain and we have our bladder and we have our pelvic floor muscles. Our nervous system helps us to have a conversation between those three parts of our anatomy. And so if we get an urge to go to the bathroom, the bladder wall is usually being stretched. So in a normal case scenario, the bladder's filling with fluids, and then a stretch gets placed on that muscle, that bladder muscle. A message goes to the brain that says, hey, we're getting full of urine down here. And then the brain makes a decision. Do we walk into the bathroom and sit down and go to the bathroom? Or do we pause and not go to the bathroom? So if we are going to use a restroom, we go into the restroom, our pelvic floor muscles relax. And when our pelvic floor muscles relax, our bladder squeezes. That's a normal motor nerve conversation. If we are unable to get to the restroom, if we are having dinner with a friend and we don't feel like leaving the table, whatever the reason is, our brain tells our pelvic floor muscles to squeeze. And when the pelvic floor muscles squeeze and tighten, not only does it close the sphincter that the urine might come out, but it also sends a message to the brain to tell the bladder to stand down and continue to store. And so if we do pelvic floor contractions, we are able to calm the bladder wall down and get that urge feeling to go away. So that is one part of our nervous system. The other part of our nervous system, our sympathetic nervous system, is our fight or flight. And that's when we're panicking and going, oh no, I'm going to leak, and we panic. The unfortunate thing about panicking is that it is a primitive response meant to keep us alive that reacts the same way every time, no matter what the danger is. So the danger could be a lion in the room. And I can tell you right now, I probably would pee myself if a lion walked into my room. And that is because of that physiological response that causes a bladder spasm. It also can be a trigger such as, oh no, I don't want to leak. I'm at the grocery store, and you panic. The same system triggered, which means that same system is going to give you bladder spasms. If your pelvic floor muscles are not strong enough to combat that, then you're going to leak from that urgency. And so people ask me, how do you shut that side of your brain off? That's your brain trying to keep you alive. That's a pretty big deal, right? And so I always use the analogy of if you're driving and say a deer runs out in front of the car, you're going to panic, right? So that part of the system, the fight or flight system, gets triggered, and we have an increase in adrenaline, increase in heart rate, respiration, blood's rushing out to our arms and legs, and we slam the brakes on, we might yell, and then we don't hit the deer. What do you do when you don't hit the deer? It's the biggest exhale you ever exhaled, right? Whew. Oh. That exhale is part of the system. It's the off switch for that system. So just like squeezing our pelvic floor muscles helps to relax that motor part of the system, that parasympathetic response, it tells the bladder no. That exhale sends a message to the brain that says you're okay, and the brain shuts that part of the system off. So we can use both of those things to control that whole system, so that when we get an urge to go pee, we can engage the pelvic floor muscles. So we do a Kegel exercise or a Kegel exercise, squeeze the pelvic floor muscles, and then we take a deep breath. And we might have to do that 5 or 6 times. But as we do that, that urge to urinate should go away. And then I tell people, go ahead and start heading toward the bathroom as long as the urge is calm. If the urge comes back, let's say, you're going that way and you see the threshold of the bathroom door or you touch the doorknob and that urge comes back. You got to stand there, sit there, do wherever you're at, don't move. Take a deep breath, squeeze those pelvic floor muscles, calm that system back down. When we go in to the restroom, you may get your thumbs in your underwear and have that urge come back. And I'm telling you, in order to get control over that bladder, you have to be really consistent. And so even though you have your thumbs in those muscles, and calm that urge back down before you go to the restroom. So the consistency of that is the hardest thing. I always, if I send this home with a patient to practice, I give them just this to practice. I might have them doing some pelvic muscle contractions just so that they can learn how to do them properly. But by and large, that's what I have them do for the first week. If they're coming to me with urgency, frequency, or urgency leakage, that is their kind of their first introduction to physical therapy with me. I tell them, that bladder is like a toddler. And you know how toddlers will run out into a kitchen and try to touch a hot stove. And we don't just remove them once. Every time they go in to touch this hot stove, we tell them, no, that's hot, and we remove them from the situation. And you need to be that consistent with your bladder in order for this to work. So that's kind of that part of it. I guess a big question for you all would be, how does this work for me? Can this work for me? And that was where I kind of wanted Mary to speak a little bit, because I did work with Mary, and I feel like we did have some success. It's been a little bit of time since I saw her last, but I would love for her to kind of tell you guys, because she experienced that, what I just talked to you about, she experienced that with me. So if Mary, if you're available.
Yeah, I gotta say, I was initially kind of incredulous. We all have our HSP Odyssey. And my physical medicine doctor that specializes in spasticity, she recommended a urologist to me for bladder Botox. So I went to the urologist, and she in turn recommended Angela to me. And I thought, well, I'm not sure if I'm quite comfortable with this yet. And I can't say I'm totally done, that I'm a former patient, is all done. But it's one of those ongoing things that's an issue for everybody. And I felt like my dosage for medication was affected. And what I thought was going to be kind of, I don't know, artsy veggie was not. It really helped. And I guess going through this process was very positive. I don't think I'm over the hump, but Angela really did help me. And I think it's worth pursuing for everybody.
Thank you. It's good to see your face. I'm sorry I can't say hi. Yep. So I don't know that it is I don't know that it's going to be 100% effective. I'm not going to tell anyone that I'm going to make them dry, or that they're not going to have problems ever. But I think it gives you another tool in your toolbox to help manage those symptoms. So if the urgency really bothers you, being able to calm that down is going to be really helpful for you. And might it help you get to the bathroom on time? Yeah, certainly. Can strengthening the muscles in your hips and your postural muscles be beneficial for the pelvic floor? Absolutely. And so I feel like you guys could really benefit just from, even if you went in for 2 or 3 visits, just to have that assessment and have someone talk to you about what could benefit you. It's really hard to talk to 110 people at the same time and give you recommendations. I'm used to one-on-one. But I think that learning how to use those muscles properly, being able to combat that urgency, and being able to have a prescription that's made for you would be really, really helpful.
So Angela, let me throw this at you. So you're saying that some of what we may be feeling is a psychological urgency, and then knowing that it's harder and more difficult for us to get somewhere, to the bathroom fast, then it could be working on us psychologically. But at the same time, if we could strengthen our pelvic muscles with exercise, with physical therapy, then those things can help to combat that. And then, worst case scenario is medication. Is that kind of how I'm hearing you?
Yes. So a lot of people take, well, ditropan, Myrbetriq, Gemtesa, Tropcium. Some of those might sound familiar in order to manage that urgency. So that helps with the bladder that's kind of spasming for really no good reason, in my humble opinion. It helps with that bladder spasticity.
May I jump in?
Yeah.
I saw Angela, I was already on Myrbetriq,
Yes.
and the dosage jumped from 25 milligrams to 50. And I felt like 25 was not enough, but I wasn't ready to double it. So that's when I started going to Angela to try to postpone my need for increasing my dosage. And guess what? It didn't. I didn't have to increase my dosage. And I don't do everything, but still, when I'm sitting in my car, I'll do Kegel exercises to strengthen my pelvic floor. And it really does help. And it used to be that I would plan every excursion in my day around where the bathrooms are located. Like for example, I like to bike ride. I would plan my route around where the bathrooms are located. And I got to a point where I didn't do that. I still am looking for a bathroom, but you know, I'll take a deep breath and try to interfere with that brain bladder communication thing that Angela was talking about, just to try to, you know, keep everything in control.
Right. And so psychological, I don't typically use that word. I use behavioral. So it really is that primitive response of the brain wanting to protect us. So people that have a lot of anxiety about bathrooming, about going to the bathroom is one thing. You also have people that just have our type A, like myself. Type A people we tend to be clenchers. We clench our jaws, we clench our pelvic floor muscles, we clench our shoulders. And that is a lot of the population that I treat as well, that has urgency and frequency. So it's more of a bladder behavior issue. But yeah, our brain needs to learn what our normal is and how to calm down when we need it to calm down. We like for that motor control to be stronger than our panic button is, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. It makes great sense. So let me ask you this. In regards to certain type of exercises, and I know it may be kind of hard to explain that, but is there a way do men also, or, what do men need to do as far as exercises? Because I know there are a number of gentlemen on our talk tonight. Are Kegel exercises the same thing for men?
They are. So we talk about them a little bit differently. If I am doing internal work, of course, that's going to be a little different. But I also have a biofeedback unit, which if you've ever had an ECG, EKG done, they put the little stickers on you and you can see the electrical energy that is in your heart. I have a machine that I can put stickers on your bottom, and you are able to see the electrical activity of your pelvic floor muscles on the little machine. And so I can use that machine to train people as well, how to not only contract the pelvic floor muscles, but also to relax them. So that's another option for treatment. And I use that a lot with my male patients. And I treat children as well. So children, I use the biofeedback with the children. I don't do internal work with the children.
Something that Angela told me about that I have used, but haven't used recently, is perifit.com. And I ordered this thing, and again, I'm female, so, but basically, it's the same kind of biofeedback, but you don't have to go to Angela or to an office. You can just do it at home.
Yep, that is a great, that's a great
Can you
unit.
write that? Can you text that over in the chat box?
I can put it in there.
That would be great. That would be helpful.
There. And I also put the pelvicrehab.com in there as well.
That is great. So you guys can all see that, right? So when you get a chance, grab that information and remind yourself that down at the bottom, there is a triple little dot. You'll see the little T for typing or the little smiley face, and right beside it is 3 little tiny dots. If you'll click on that tiny dot, the very first thing that pops up says save chat. So make sure you guys grab that information, and then we will also have that on our SPF talks page so that you guys can grab that information, as well as these worksheets, these PDFs that Miss Angela has so kindly provided those to us. So all of this information you guys can actually see in print when you go to our website and find it there. So you guys look at that.
I just noticed when I went to the SPF talks on the events page, there's a list of PDF documents. I haven't looked, but I know they're there.
Yes, we uploaded all of those. Miss Angela so kindly sent those to us yesterday, I think it was. And so we were able to get those uploaded so you guys can all download that information. It's all there in one location, and we'll have that up for a little while so that you can have it. And then we'll have other information available as it comes available to us.
And then I think I also sent information about where I work. And then I think there was even a prescription, so that if you're local, you can just print a copy of that prescription and take it to your physician. And honestly, I love where I work, and I have a team of 5 pelvic health therapists. And I really believe that we are the cream of the crop, but there are also a lot of other physical therapists around. And I always tell people, I don't care who you see. I just want you to be seen. There are some really good practitioners out there that can help you. So even printing that script and taking it to your physician, even if you live in Pennsylvania, you can show that to them and say, listen, I saw this talk, and do you know anybody here that does this that you like? That can be really helpful for the doctor to kind of jar them into looking for someone for you. I just saw
Angela, I may have missed that, but I don't know that I actually got a script in all of those documents that you sent.
Okay, I can resend that.
So, yeah, send that one separately, and we'll get that put on. Okay,
I can do that. I just got a question in the chat asking about fecal incontinence. I do have that. Oh, this person is seeing pelvic PT, managing their diet and doing it, and using eStim. Those are all wonderful things. So an eStim unit it looks like a little TENS unit. It's just a little box of electricity with a 9-volt battery in it. And there is a sensor that is placed internally. For women, we use it vaginally most of the time. And for men, we use it rectally. You can use it rectally with women as well. And it delivers electricity to the pelvic floor muscles. Muscles run on electricity. So it helps with the contraction of those muscles and can help to strengthen those muscles. And that is also a wonderful thing if you're having difficulty strengthening the pelvic floor. That can be very, very helpful. I do treat fecal incontinence as well. And we really are doing the exact same thing with fecal incontinence as we are with urge incontinence and stress incontinence of the bladder. The muscles are the same, And so we are still doing the strengthening. We can still work on holding on. I don't make my patients wait as long when we're talking about fecal incontinence. I like my urinary bladder patients to work on practicing holding for 15 minutes or more. If they can kind of delay the urge to urinate. I tend not to do that with my fecal incontinence patients. But that's about the only difference that I can think of. And then the diet can be one way or the, I have to talk to the patient directly to find out what's going on with their diet. And then this person is also saying they use a male adapter for the fecal incontinence. Yeah, it's much smaller. The vaginal sensor is rather large. And that's why we were talking with the PeriFit. It's rather large. It's meant for women to use only. It's meant for vaginal use. The smaller adapters for men for fecal incontinence are wonderful. Yeah, much more comfortable that way. Do we have any other questions or?